welcome back. I'm S.A. Trotter, your host. Today we're going to make macaroni and cheese. I've been talking with some people lately and have discovered there's a lot of people that know how to make macaroni and cheese if it comes in a box and has a cheese packet. However, they just don't know how to do it homemade. So, today we're going to address doing homemade macaroni and cheese. This is an easy dish and can be made two ways. Actually, probably more than that, but the basics of producing it are simple. Now, one method, and this is the way my mother used to do it, I don't like to do this. She used to put her pasta in boiling water, boil it up, pour out the water when the pasta was finished, and then add milk and flour, or rather I should say a little bit of flour with some butter, and then after incorporating that, she would add milk to produce a kind of a cream sauce, and then add cheese and melt the cheese in slowly. I have found that this has negative results. This produces a macaroni and cheese where the pasta is, well, it's just too soft at that point. So remember, if you do that method, to stop cooking on your pasta a few minutes before it's finished. Otherwise, your pasta will be way too soft by the time the dish is done, and it will simply break apart, and it will be a very ugly dish. Your pasta needs to be firm. It needs to hold its shape so that it can hold the sauce better. Now, I have a pot of boiling water here. I need to salt this and put my pasta down in there. So I'm going to add some salt. And yes, I add plenty. There's about a gallon, maybe a gallon and a half of water in this pot. And I'll add in about, a tablespoon and a half to 2 tablespoons of salt. I have two kinds of pasta. One is your regular macaroni product. This is what everybody's used to making macaroni and cheese with. The next item is a mixture of pastas, which is the long tubular one here, that's rigatoni, the spiral pasta, as well as shell pasta. This takes longer to cook than this, so we're going to put it in first. Now I'm going to set my timer to remind me that in 3 minutes I need to put in my other macaroni here. That way we get a good boil. I want to stir that pasta a little bit after putting it in, otherwise it's going to stick together. That will be no fun. Now, when you're making macaroni and cheese, it's all about the cheese. Okay? If you use a cheese that's bland in flavor, well, your macaroni and cheese is going to be bland in flavor. I went with a sharp cheddar. You can combine cheeses provided they melt into sauce as well, okay? And that's just a matter of experimenting, so try different things. I recommend starting your first one with a good sharp cheddar. This is about 12 ounces grated. Setting that aside. Now here in my pan where I'm going to make the sauce, I have some butter and a bit of peanut oil in there. I like to combine the two because I think it gives a good texture. I also have 2 cups of milk here. Now that milk I'm going to add into this pan after I've melted the butter and I have cooked in a little bit of flour. Now if you've ever noticed, I don't have measurements too much. Every once in a while I'll try to throw out about how much I'm using, but as a general rule I don't use measurements. That's not what cooking is about. That would be painting by numbers, and well, I like to use a blank canvas, which means you just kind of work from your heart. Okay? So, we get some flour, we'll put it down in there when that is melted, and we will start making our sauce. Okay, our butter is melted. I have just now added the macaroni to the water over here, so we're about 3 minutes in. This dish doesn't take a long time. Now, I've got a bag of flour, and if you notice, I'm just going to pull out some. That looks like about, what, 1/4 of a cup there? Let's break that up. I'm going to use a whisk. That butter real well, and I want to cook that. Now, I find that it's a beautiful creamy base. And the French world, this would, I guess, be called a roux, wouldn't it? There we go. Add just a little bit more flour. Now, I want to cook that flour in just a little bit. And that's because I don't want it to have a raw taste in the macaroni and cheese. I don't want the flour really to be noticed. I want the flavor of the cheese to be noticed. Now, I did not use margarine in this. I didn't use just oil in this. I used a combination of a little bit of oil with some butter. And I do that because you have a dairy product, cheese, that we're going to be producing a wonderful dish with. So why mix in something that's not dairy and mess that up? Now, of course, yes, the oil is not dairy. I put a little bit of oil in there only to make it a slightly frothiness. It's just fine. Don't pay any attention to it. But you want to watch it carefully. Do not turn this brown. Okay? It's very easy to scorch butter. If your heat is too high, if you leave it on there too long, you're going to burn the butter, you're going to burn the flour, and it's going to be icky. It's a wonderful dish. Right along. Looking good. Now, I'm about to add some milk to this mixture. When you do this, you need to stir constantly. Okay, my color has turned slightly tannish. Okay, that is just perfect. Exactly what I'm looking for. Pour in that milk. I want to add about a cup to begin with and just stir vigorously. Okay, I'm going to raise my heat to high. If you want to make cream gravy, this is a common item in Texas and throughout the South. We like this on chicken fried steak and on mashed potatoes. This is cream gravy. Add a little bit of salt to it, add a bit of pepper to it, and you've got what we like on our food. Okay? Very simple. It is also the beginning of many different sauces. It is the beginning of this sauce for macaroni and cheese. Now, that was just starting to thicken up. It got kind of pasty on me. So I added a little bit more milk. Right now we are down to about half a cup of milk left, starting with 2 cups. So if you're keeping up with your little pad of paper and writing down the recipe, then that's about what I've used so far. And I might add a little bit more to it. Now, if you build too much of this sauce, you feel like it's just going to overwhelm the amount of pasta that you cook, well, pour a little bit of it out. I mean, that's not going to hurt anything. There we go. Now it's turned into a much more thick, gravy-like substance. So I'm going to start adding my cheese. If you notice, I just keep stirring. Reduce my heat to a medium. See, that cheese has already melted into that pan. Look at that. It's taken on the color. It's nice and thick. You see that? Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Just perfect. Let's add some more of that cheese. Now, if you notice, I don't dump it all in at once. A small amount at a time. Sprinkling it in. Stirring as I go. I never stop to stir when I'm making this sauce. If this becomes too thick as you're working it, add a little bit more milk to thin it down. We've all eaten macaroni and cheese. We know about how thick the sauce is. You're simply trying to duplicate what you've had in the past when it comes to your texture. Now your flavor, that's a whole different issue altogether. That flavor has to do with the quality of cheese that you use, flavor of the cheese that you use. Don't use a cheese that you don't want to eat. Don't be cheap about your cheese. This dish is all about the cheese. scrape in the rest of what I had left on my plate there. There we go. Oh, wow. The gorgeous cheese sauce. Look at this. See how it sticks to the whisk? How it hangs onto it? It's just wonderful. Smooth, creamy, cheesy. Now, the flavor of the cheese will come out better if you will add just a little bit of salt to this, okay? Don't be afraid of adding just a wee bit of salt, because it's going to perk up that cheese real well. It'll make it seem a little more sharp than it is. And when it comes to macaroni and cheese, sharp cheeses seem to work better. They seem to have a little better flavor. Now I'm going to check my macaroni over here, my pasta, to see how much it has cooked, to see if it's al dente yet. Only one way to try that, and that's just to taste it. Okay, it appears that has become al dente. I'm going to turn the heat off on this. Nice, perfect little sauce there. The sauce is just slightly thin. This is important. When you first put your pasta in there, it's going to absorb some of the moisture in that sauce. So don't make this too thick. Now that I've drained off the water, I'm going to pour that pasta right down into the beautiful sauce that we've made. Mix them together. Wow, there's macaroni and cheese. Now if you notice, this really didn't take much more work than opening the box and squeezing in the packet after macaroni is boiled. A little more work, but not much, and the reward is far greater than what you're going to get with the other product. There we have it, macaroni and cheese. I hope your family enjoy. Good eating. Okay, it's been about 6, maybe 8 minutes since I stopped this little project. Now if you'll notice, as I mentioned, it would get thicker, and sure enough, look at that. Look how thick and rich it got. Oh man, and the pasta, large chunks of pasta there. This is going to be so good. Now, so many Americans are fanatics about macaroni and cheese. We love this product. However, you need to know now, this is not an American dish. This is an Italian dish. Okay? However, in Italy, they do this just a little bit different. They would have added a bit of nutmeg to this. And then, they would have poured it into a casserole dish, topped with just a little bit more cheese, shredded, and baked in an oven until that cheese bakes down nice and crusty and bubbly and starts to brown just a little bit. That would be a baked macaroni and cheese. They come out really good like that. Please experiment with all these different methods so you can find what works best for you. My favorite method is doing 2 separate pots, and you've seen the results. Nice, thick, rich, cheesy macaroni and cheese. So please share with your friends and your family. Thank you for watching, and good eating.